Hello everyone, my name is Anjubala, Assistant Professor, Department of Geology, Dayanand College, Hisar. Today we will discuss about dengue fever, which is a topic for the students of BSc Medical 6th semester. So let's start with the topic. Dengue. It is a mosquito-borne viral disease in the humans. It can affect anyone, but it tends to be more severe in the people with compromised immune systems. Dengue goes by other names also, including breakbone fever or dandy fever, as victims of the dengue, after having contortions due to the intense pain in their joints, muscles, and bone, and hence the name is breakbone fever. Also, the slaves in West Indies who contracted the dengue fever were said to have dandy fever because of their postures and their gait. If we talk about the pathogenicity of the dengue, then it varies from its mild to the most severe form. As the mild dengue fever have symptoms just like those of the flu. But the severe form of dengue fever, also called as DHF, means dengue hemorrhagic fever. It can cause serious bleeding and a sudden drop in the blood pressure, also termed as shock, and it can even cause the death of person. Now, if we talk about the history of dengue fever, then the word dengue is derived from a Swahili phrase, ka dingo pepo, which means the cramp-like seizures that are caused by an evil spirit. And the first record of a case of dengue fever is found in a Chinese medical encyclopedia from the Jin dynasty, where dengue fever was referred to as water poison associated with some flying insects. And the first confirmed case reports date from 1789, and this case is by the Benjamin Rush, the same person who coined the term breakbone fever because of the symptoms of the myalgia and the arthralgia. Also, the first recognized dengue epidemics occurred almost simultaneously in Asia, Africa, and the North America in 1780s. That is, shortly after the identification and the naming of disease in the 1779. And if we talk about the history of the severe dengue fever, then it was the first recognized in the 1950s in the Philippines and the Thailand when there was the dengue epidemic spread out. Before the 1970, only 9 countries had experienced this severe dengue epidemics. But this disease is now endemic in more than 100 countries across the globe. And the largest number of dengue cases ever reported globally, that was in the 2019. Also, in 2019, all regions were affected and dengue transmission was recorded in the Afghanistan for its very first time. And now, if we talk about the distribution of the dengue fever, according to the CDC, which stands for Center for the Disease Control and Prevention, So, according to the CDC, the dengue virus is prevalent throughout the tropics and subtropics around the globe. And millions of the cases of dengue occur worldwide each year. Outbreaks have occurred recently in the Caribbean, including the Virgin Islands, Cuba, and Central America. Dengue cases have also been imported via the tourists returning from the areas with the widespread dengue, including Singapore, Southeast Asia, and the West Indies. If we talk about the stats regarding the spread of dengue fever across the globe, then CDC estimates that at least the 400 million cases of dengue fever occur across the globe every year, which itself is a very large number. And the incidence of the dengue has increased dramatically in the recent decades, with the estimates of 40% to 50% of the world's population at risk for the disease in the tropical, subtropical, and in the more temperate areas. Thailand reported the worst dengue virus outbreak in the 20 years with the 126 deaths and 1,35,344 people infected with the virus in October 2013. Also, in India, New Delhi reported an outbreak of the dengue disease with the 1872 testings getting positive in the September 2015. So, as we can see here, how dengue is such a deadly disease. Now, moving next to the cause of dengue disease. Dengue is caused by the virus of Flaviviridae family, and there are four distinct but closely related serotype of the virus that causes dengue. And these four different serotype, they are termed as DENV1, means dengue virus serotype 1, DENV2, DENV3, and DENV4. These four subtypes, they are the different strains of the dengue virus that have 60 to 80% homology between each other. It means that if you are recovered from the dengue fever, you have long-term immunity to the type of virus that infected you, but not to the other three dengue fever viruses type. It means you can be infected again in the future by one of the other three virus types. Here is the structure of the dengue virus. And this dengue virus, it is consisted of a single stranded genomic RNA encapsulated in an envelope. The dengue virus is a 15 nanometer virus enveloped with a lipid membrane. There are 180 identical copies of the envelope protein attached to the surface of viral membrane by a short transmembrane segment. This dengue virus has a genome of about 11,000 base pairs, and this genome encodes the three structural proteins named as capsid, PRM, and E protein. Moving next to the epidemiology of the dengue disease, means the transmission of the dengue disease. Dengue fever is transmitted via the bites of a female mosquito of the Aedes genus, which harbor the dengue virus in its body. And this infected mosquito spreads the virus to the other human. And the The mosquito itself becomes infected when it bites a person with the dengue virus in their blood. Thus, we can say that the human infection is totally indirect and inoculative, just like the case of malaria. Plus, the person to person transmission doesn't occur in this case. This Aedes mosquito flourishes during the rainy season, but they can breed in the water filled flower pots, plastic bags, and cans year around. These Aedes mosquito are also the vector of chikungunya, yellow fever, and the Zika viruses. There is also the possibility of the transmission of dengue fever from a pregnant mother to her baby. And this type of transmission is called as maternal transmission or vertical transmission. And the newborn babies may suffer from the preterm birth or the fetal distress. Here on the right corner, there is a picture showing the transmission of virus. Here we can see the pathway of the transmission of virus from an infected human to the mosquito and from that infected mosquito to another human. Virus after entering into the host cell, that is, virus after entering into the human cell hijacks this cell's machinery to replicate itself, and the newly synthesized mature dengue virus are then finally released from the host cell and they can go on to infect other cells. During this viremic period, if a mosquito takes a blood meal from a person that is infected with this virus, then the mosquito sucks the virus along with its blood meal. Now, the virus infects the midgut of the mosquito and it eventually travels to the salivary gland of mosquito, and all this happen usually between the 8 to 10 days. And now this infected mosquito can further again infect any other human when it will visit him or her to have its feed or blood meal. Now, if we talk about the vector ecology, then as we know, the only vector responsible for the spread of this deadly disease is the female mosquito of the Aedes genus. There are the two species responsible for the spread of this disease, where the Aedes aegypti is the primary vector of the dengue virus spread and the Aedes albopictus, another species, it is the secondary dengue vector. These Aedes mosquitoes breeds mostly in the man-made containers where they can find a still water. If we talk about their feeding habits, then the Aedes mosquitoes, they are daytime feeder with the peaks are early in the morning or late in the evening time. And the interesting thing is that only the female mosquito sucks the human blood because it needs the proteins to feed for its larva, and the female feed multiple times between each egg laying period. Here is the picture showing the vectors responsible for the spread of the dengue virus. The picture on the left hand side shows the Aedes aegypti mosquito, whereas the picture on the right hand side shows Aedes albopictus mosquito. Now, moving next to the symptoms. Incubation period of this disease is about 4 to 5 days. It means the time period between the bite of the infected mosquito to the onset of symptoms is 4 to 5 days, and it can be maximum of 12 days. In the many cases, symptoms will be mild and may be mistaken for the flu or any other infection. Symptoms of this disease generally last for 2 to 10 days, and the symptom includes presence of fever, body rash and headache. And these three symptoms, fever, rash and headache, they are also called as the dengue triad. And this dengue triad is the characteristic feature of the dengue disease. Dengue should be suspected when a high fever, that's 40 degrees centigrade or 104 degree Fahrenheit, is accompanied by the any two of these symptoms such as fatigue or vomiting or the pain behind eyes or the severe joint or muscle pain or the mild bleeding from the nose or gums or the skin rash or the severe headache. Then we can suspect that the person is infected with the dengue. Now moving next to the severe dengue fever. A small percentage of the individuals who have dengue fever can develop a more serious form of the disease, which is known as DHF or dengue hemorrhagic fever. This specific syndrome tends to affect children under the 10 years of age. Risk factor for developing the dengue hemorrhagic fever includes being under the age of 12 or being a female or a person having the weakened immune system. This rare form of disease is characterized by severe bleeding or severe vomiting, or if the blood pressure of a person suddenly drops, or the severe pain in the stomach, and sometimes bruising is also seen under the skin. Symptoms of the dengue hemorrhagic fever can trigger dengue shock syndrome, which is the most severe form of this dengue disease. And this dengue shock syndrome can lead to the excessive bleeding and eventually the death of person. A person should immediately go to the hospitals if he or she possesses any of these symptoms. Here is a picture showing the symptoms of the dengue fever, where the picture on the left hand side shows the mild symptoms of this disease, and the picture on the right hand side shows the severe form of this disease with its severe symptom. Now moving next to the diagnosis. Dengue fever can be difficult to diagnose because of its symptom overlap with those of the many other viral illnesses. Medical professionals usually make a diagnosis of the dengue fever infection when a person exhibits the typical clinical symptoms and has a history of being in an area where the dengue is endemic. Diagnosis of this disease uses the virological tests and serological tests. Virological tests directly detect the elements of virus, whereas the serological test detects the human derived immune components that are produced in a human body in the response to viruses. Healthcare professional may use a blood test called as DE and V detect immunoglobulin M capture ELISA to diagnose the people with the dengue fever. In the diagnosis of this disease, RT-PCR technique is also used. Here is the picture showing the different type of diagnostic method used to diagnose this disease, where they are categorized into direct methods and indirect methods, where the direct method includes viral isolation, detection of genome and the detection of antigen. This all revolves around the virus. And the indirect method includes the serology immunoglobulin M and the serology of immunoglobulin G, which depends upon the human derived immune components. Now, if we talk about the prophylaxis or the prevention of this deadly disease, then there are some measures for the prevention of this disease, as there should be the prevention of mosquito breeding places, and there should also be the personal protection from the mosquito bites. Plus, the community engagement is also another prophylactic measure. There should also be reactive vector control, and the active mosquito and the virus surveillance is also the another preventive measure for this disease. Dengue prevention and the control depends on the effective vector control measures mainly. Moving next to the personal protection. Best method of the protection is to avoid the mosquito bites and to reduce the mosquito population. If we are in a high risk area of the dengue, then we should avoid heavily populated residential areas. We can use mosquito repellent indoors and outdoors of the house to prevent ourselves from the mosquito bites. A person can wear the long sleeved shirts and pants tucked into the socks. We should use air conditioning instead of opening windows to prevent the entry of mosquitoes inside our homes. We should also ensure the windows and the door screens are secure. And if any holes are present there, then they must be repaired. Plus, we should also use mosquito nets if sleeping areas are not screened. Now, talking about reducing the mosquito population. It involves getting rid of mosquitoes breeding areas. These mosquito breeding areas include any place where the still water can collect, such as bird baths, pet dishes, empty planters, flower pots, cans, or any other empty vessel. These areas should be checked, emptied, or changed regularly. Now, moving next to the treatment of dengue disease. So, it's shocking that there is no medication or the treatment specifically for the dengue infection. For the typical dengue fever, the treatment is directed toward the relief of symptom. It means there is only symptomatic treatment. A person can use over the counter pain relievers to reduce the fever or headache or the joint pain. And for this purpose, acetaminophen, or also known as the paracetamol outside the US areas, and codeine may be given for the severe headache and for joint and muscle pain, commonly called as the myalgia. However, aspirin and the ibuprofen, they can cause the more bleeding and complications, and thus these two should be avoided. Here in this picture, some natural remedies are given for the dengue disease, which includes water intake. The infected person should have a regular water intake. Also, the researchers have also shown that papaya leaves are also the very effective in this disease. And an infected person can also make use of the basil leaves and orange juice to boost its immunity. Now, moving next toward the vaccine of this disease. In the April 2016, WHO, which stands for World Health Organization, approved the Sanofi Pasteur's Dengvaxia, which is a live recombinant tetravalent vaccine for the dengue fever. The Dengvaxia can be administered as a 3-dose series in the people of 9 to 45 years of age who live in the areas where dengue is endemic. Dengvaxia was very effective at protecting against the severe dengue, which can be fatal, and thus preventing 93% of the severe cases. Vaccine is approved only for the people who have a documented history of the dengue fever or who have had a blood test that shows the previous infections with one of the dengue virus, called as seropositivity. In the people who have not had the dengue fever in the past, receiving the vaccine appears to increase the risk of severe dengue fever and hospitalization due to the dengue fever in the future. So, it was all about the dengue fever. Thank you for listening.